Hey there, Tinkers. It's Mr. Patrick with one more project from your Tinker Box. This one is called Ice Globes or Ice Balloons. I like Ice Globe because it reminds me of the globe that we're all living on. And this experiment from the Exploratorium takes us into climate science and geology and some really, really beautiful physics. All you really need is a balloon and some water from your faucet, a freezer, a couple other things you've probably got in your kitchen. I'll explain the steps in just a second. The first step is, if you've already used your balloon to make a party wherever you're tinkering today, let it deflate a little bit before you carefully untie it. We're going to take this over to the sink and fill it up with water. Okay, here we go. So you can fill it up at any kitchen faucet, but be aware that most faucets have an aerator which puts lots of bubbles into the stream. The fewer bubbles you have, the better, but you'll see the difference after your ice globe is frozen. Now I'm filling it up nice and slow here, making sure it doesn't pop off the end of my faucet here. You can get wet doing this, I'll tell you. But when it gets to about this size, I'm going to wrap it up and carefully remove it from the spigot. Maybe get a little extra air out of it. And then I'll try my best to tie this up without getting soaked. There we go. Ta-da! We're ready to put it in the freezer. Now, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but this experiment does require a little bit of patience. Your ice globe needs to sit in the freezer for 2 full days before you're ready to complete the project. So, while it's freezing, I just want to make sure you have everything else you need to get the most out of your ice globe. So first of all, have you got some salt around the house? This is really important to see some amazing effects on the surface of the globe when it comes out of the freezer. Another thing you're going to want to really see the magic of your ice globe is something colorful. It could just be food coloring or some colorful juice that you have. I've got some beet kvass that I love in my fridge, and I think it's a beautiful color to add on top of my ice globe. All right, it's 2 days later. Let's pull this out and see what we've got. When it comes out of the freezer, you can start to peel off this balloon and see the globe inside. Now your globe might not be a perfect sphere. This one I overfilled and laid on a flat surface, and so it's kind of a cool funky shape. You'll notice it's very frosty on the inside and clearer to the outside. Depending on how many bubbles ended up in your ice globe when you filled it, yours might be hazier or clearer. It melts. Whew, it's getting cold. For the next part, it's going to get a little bit messy, so I recommend getting out a tray or a bowl, maybe even doing it outside so that you don't have a lot of extra cleanup today. Start by adding the salt on top of it, and you'll start seeing the surface of your ice globe erode. Then drizzle on some of that colorful magic, whether it's juice or food coloring, and see how that pigment runs across the surface of your globe. Everybody's globe is going to be different, and the way that these shapes appear will also be unique. I think they look kind of like rivers. The way they meander back and forth down the surface, it's like an actual river. Hey folks, I hope you've had a blast messing around with your ice globe, adding salt or pigment or other things you have around the kitchen. But there's still so much more to explore with these ice globes, and I encourage you to go beyond the tip of the proverbial iceberg and see what you can learn from this chunk of ice. One simple thing you can do is dump it into a tub. You can put it into a sink or a bath full of water, or just a big old, if you've got a jug around, and see what happens. Ask yourself before you do, how much of this globe is going to float above the surface and how much will be underneath? All right. Another fun thing you can try with your ice globes, if you've got more than one, maybe your friends or family members also have a Tinker kit today, you can do a controlled experiment and see who can get theirs to melt the fastest or the slowest, right? Try placing one of these in a sunny part of the garden, put the other one maybe on a shady spot on your patio and see what the difference is in the rate of melting. Really interesting and important experiments to try as we tackle some big climate questions here on planet Earth, my favorite globe.